Wednesday. Yesterday we started to bend the keel. It's going a lot slower than I initially thought. The wood is still currently actually outside in the garage bending. I want to get a little more time before I try to add that third and fourth layer, just so it holds its shape a little better. But what I decided to do today is it's going to be a lot less work outside and a lot more work inside. I actually was looking back at the lofting that I did back in, I think April I did it, and I realized that I call it lofting, but it's more just measuring out the frames with the different stations that I'm going to be building. And I realized that I measured them out to every 2 feet, and with every 2 feet I ended up having 9 stations and then a transom, so I basically had 10 frames. But I want to actually change that. I want to make it so they're every 3 feet, so I'm going to go through and do that today. Instead of being 2 feet, we're going to have a 3 foot gap between each of them. The ply that's going to be on the outside is going to be stiff enough that I don't necessarily need as many frames. Going down from 9 frames to 6 is going to be a lot. It's going to save a lot of weight. It's also going to be helpful in the overall build, because then the plywood will be able to take more of a natural curve instead of being kind of forced into a step pattern. So I'm going to get to lofting that, and then I'll check back in. So to give you an idea of exactly what it is that I'm doing, I'm calling this lofting, but it's not really lofting, it's a little bit different. I'm going back into the model and I'm taking cross sections of the hull, as you can see here. And I'm taking those every 3 feet. And what I'm doing with that is I'm translating those measurements into coordinates. And what I do with those coordinates, as you can see right here, I have the first station kind of done here. As you can see, it says station 1, 3 feet from transom, and then I have 2 measurements, or 4 measurements if you will. There's a measurement to the chine and the measurement to the shear. At the chine, there's these 2 numbers. There's 320 and 094. What those are coordinates. They're feet, inches, and eighths. So the chine is 3 feet 2 inches and 0 eighths in the x-axis, and 0 feet 9 inches and 4 eighths in the y-axis. So then what I'm able to do is I'm able to take the 2x4s or whatever I'm going to be using to form that first piece and lay them out on the ground or on wherever I want, and I use these numbers to find a starting point and an ending point. I find this a lot easier. When I was doing the model, I was using more angles and lengths, and it was very difficult. It proved that cutting wood is not a very precise science, especially with the tools that I have. So having it more as a coordinate than an angle and a length is a lot easier to do. I actually learned this from the Total Boat series on the Jonestown Distributors channel, or Jamestown Distributors channel. It's proven very helpful. So I'm going to go through, finish all this, and then after about a little under an hour of work, I was able to get through all the stations. I ended up with 6 stations and a transom. The thing is, the 6th station is going to be, if I were to strictly follow the plan, it'd be about 9 inches from the bow. So I decided to kind of move that back a little bit to about a foot, and then I can use that as an anchor locker or something up at the bow, or I could even just make it into a breast hook. But that'll be much further down the road. I got all the stations lofted. You can look at them here. I really wouldn't recommend following this. It's not really an exact science. It's more of an art form. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the widths of the stations, but I'm not necessarily going to use the heights. I just want it to be longer or higher than the height, so that way I can kind of shape the shear at how I want it. But I think the chine in the model is done well, and I like that shape. I'm not super in love with the shear. It has kind of like a bump towards the bow, so it'll give me a little bit of freedom to kind of shape it how I want once everything's put in place. But if you want to look, this is kind of the end result. There's a lot of excess lines drawn, and then I was just moving this cross section up and down, making sure and taking measurements. So I feel comfortable with that. Another issue that I foresee with this is in this model, the width of the keel is it's a point density. It doesn't actually have the 2-inch thickness that I have built in, or that I'm going to end up having. So basing the transom will be narrower than, or the measurements for the transom are going to be a little narrower than the measurements for each station. So to adjust for that, I'll probably have to make the transom like 2 inches wider than it is on here, just to make everything fit. But that, again, that's also further down the road. We still have to get the keel built, and then we're going to start working on the stations, and then the transom, then the shear, then the chine, or then the chine, then the shear, and then the planking, and then we get to fiberglass, epoxy, flip it over, and then we get to start working on the interior, but that's going to be much further down the road. So I'm in the garage and we're checking in on how this curve has gone, and it looks still holding strong. It's still looking good. Clamps all still in place, so it's looking good. I'm gonna try to add the 3rd and 4th layer right now. As you can see, I've got all this stuff laid out. These are the other 2 pieces I'm gonna curve. This is the rear part of the keel, so this is going to be near the transom, and this is going to be near the bow. This is the pieces we're probably going to end up cutting, because there's all this stuff going on. And then these were just, these last 4 were just extra ones. So I'm going to move this stuff in the back, and then we're going to try to bend it, and that's probably all we're going to be able to get done today. Just because of how long this stuff has to sit in order to properly bend, and how long it takes for the sealant to cure. So, got this set up. Let's take off the clamps and see how well this holds. I think my plan for this is I'm going to do that, put this as close to this one as I possibly can. Kind of concerned that that's going to break. So, an update, and not a good one. So, I was trying to add the 3rd piece, and it didn't work. The pieces came unhinged, and they're basically straight again, which sucks, but it's what I gotta do. So you can see all the clamps came off. These were the 2 pieces that were originally bent. They're definitely more pliable than they were, so that's a good thing. This piece right here and that one on the ground have not been bent at all, and I also broke 2 clamps. So as you can see, this one lost one of its little hands, and it doesn't align anymore when you close it, so that's now trash. And this Irwin grip over here is pretty much stuck in the open position. A little piece snapped off right here. So these 2 things are now garbage, and I need to reevaluate how I'm going to bend these pieces. So I did some thinking, And I think the decision I came to is I'm gonna go back to Lowe's. I'm gonna get a couple more clamps. I'm gonna get some more some heavier duty clamps, and I'm gonna put all 4 pieces on, and I'm gonna bend them progressively. I'll bend them a little bit today, or hopefully get them all a little bit bent today, and then as time goes on, I'll tighten it and tighten it, tighten it, eventually get it down to where I need to be, and then or close, and then I'll laminate them and then fully bend them. I think that's going to be the most efficient way to go about this. The pieces are a little thick. If I had them maybe a 1/4 inch, it would be better, but then it wouldn't fit. The scarf wouldn't fit properly with the rest of the keel. So I'm gonna run to Lowe's again, like this 4th time in 3 days, and grab some clamps. Probably get some heavier duty ones, and then I will come back. And why is this making a ticking noise? That's weird. Then I'll come back and try to update you with how that starts. Alright, I'm back from my 100,000th trip to Lowe's. So these are now garbage. I don't need those anymore. I picked up 2 bar clamps. They're rated for 600 pounds of pressure. And then I got 2 more of these 8-inch Irwins that I already had, or these were actually 6 that I had. But I picked up some 8-inch. So now I have a good variation of lengths that I can use to bend. So I'm gonna wrestle with this a little bit more and see how everything goes. We should be able to bend it now. And then once we put some sealant in between, or adhesive, it'll be so much easier. So let's get to it. This feels like another day went by and I didn't really get much done. But I was happy with at least getting the lofting redone. I'd kind of been thinking about that for a while, and I have some ideas in mind now of how I want to go about actually building that. I've been looking at the keel, I've been looking at the bend, I've been really thinking about it. Bending 4 1/2-inch pieces of white oak is going to be very difficult. It's going to take an absolute ton of pressure that I don't think I can actually apply without some type of steam bending or something, and I don't have the resources to do that. So I think the best course of action as of right now is going to be to do it 2 at a time. So I'm actually going to do these 2. I have 2 pieces clamped on right now. There's 3 clamps there, 3 clamps there. The 3 clamps might be a little overkill. I think the bar clamps might not be doing as much as I think they are, but it's still gonna hold. So I'll let that sit again for another 24 hours, and then tomorrow, once I have everything in order, I'm gonna go ahead and start adhering everything. I realize I was concerned that I might waste some of the adhesive. I feel like there's more than I need for the keel necessarily, but I don't think that'll actually gonna happen because I need to laminate 4 pieces for the bottom of the keel, and then 2 pieces here, and then the second one I'll probably have to open, and I'll end up probably losing some of that when I laminate the second piece of the keel. It's gonna take about a week to set, so hopefully by the time I have something else built, maybe I'll have some of the frames done, and I'm gonna need some polymer to adhere those to the keel, but we'll see how that goes. Right, as of right now, I'm happy with making the decision that we're gonna do this in 2 parts. Tomorrow, I hopefully am gonna start gluing everything as soon as everything goes right. I have everything else laid out in the garage. It's all absolutely ready to go. I want to make sure that I'm doing everything right. I'm doing it slow, and I'm really trying to do this right. I don't really want to build something that's not going to float, or build something I'm not going to be happy with. There's a lot of moving parts to this, a lot of planning that has to go into it. But I think we're getting a good head start. So this is where I'm going to end the video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one.